You were tuned in to episode 46. Yes, I said it. Episode 46 of the Goodfellas podcast. I am your host, captain of the ship, G5 Jeff TV, aka G5, aka 5, aka the Guru. It's in the building. Dolo for the moment. VP Shane will be in here shortly. Hopefully, Boxing First Vlog will be in here as well. Third member of the team. Big shout out to everybody. It's been a busy 24 hours or so. We didn't go live yesterday, but episode 46 of the podcast is here. And we have a lot to talk about. Before we even get to the main topic, um, actually just seen this news on the internet, but my guy L Dub the plug put it out there. Um, Jermell Charlo versus Castano is not going to be in Texas. It's going to be in California. That is, I'm not happy with that news. I'm really not happy with that news because we were all planning on taking a road trip down there to Texas. Me, Boxing First Vlog, um, VP Shane, uh, YSM Sports Media, a couple other guys who's gonna link up with Stay Ready, his whole camp, and swing down there for that fight, man. So that fight being in Cali actually, hurt my feelings a little bit. Um, but we just gotta make another road trip. That's just what it is at the end of the day. Um, and I think they pushed it back to March, if I'm not mistaken. Let me look that up real quick. It is when is that fight? I think it's March, sometime in March. Um, my guy Adrian in the building. What is going on with you, good brother? Good to have you on here. Um, I mean, we still, unification fight. I mean, to be honest with you, it really don't matter where it is, but you know, uh, we was hoping it was going to be in Texas again, but it is what it is. Just want to give a few shout outs before we get started, man. Big shout out to VP Shane. He'll be in here in a minute. Big shout out to Boxing First Vlog. He should be in here pretty soon as well. Big shout out to some family out there, man. Big shout out to L Dub the plug, man. Keep us on point. YSM Sports Media, you know what I'm saying? The boxing swords, pound for pound. Um, Stay Ready, DT3, you know what I'm saying? All family right there, you know what I'm saying? Padman McGriff, Toriano Johnson, you know what I'm saying? So big shout out to all them guys, man. Um, and listen, we not even gonna wait any further, man. We gonna get right into it. Conrad Boxing in the building. Big shout out to my guy Conrad. What's going on with you, good brother? Um, Listen, the bomb dropped yesterday. Terrence Bud Crawford is suing Bob Arum for it's reported upwards of $10 million due to racial biasness, which has cost him big fights in his career. Now, I have not read the complete filing of this lawsuit, so I only can go but so far with it. Um, Based off of what I have read, like I haven't read like the official transcripts, but from what I've read, it's let me put it to you like this, man. I hope people don't take offense to what I'm getting ready to say. Um, there's a difference between a person being guilty and a person being guilty in the court of law. There's a huge difference. There's a burden of proof that has to be shown in a court of law in order for you to win a case. Like that's just what it is. So my opinion is not anti Bud or anti Bob Arum or anti Top Rank. this is a situation where it's really just it's difficult to see how Bud wins this in court. Conrad Boxing, I read your post on the Instagram group about that, and I'm with you 100%. Even if I would like Bud to win, he said the only hope they got is some leaked emails or audio recordings. For the people, Conrad, I appreciate that, man. Like, for the people that don't know what I sent in the group chat, you got to be following us on Instagram as well, to get in on the group chat that Conrad is talking about. So I'm actually gonna read what I put down in the group chat just to give y'all a little bit of insight. So I put down, I said, Bud is 6-0 with 6 KOs since going up to 147. 2 of the fights were pay-per-view, and the other 4, he was the main event, prime time on the biggest overall sports platform on the planet. What's going on, Shane? What's that? What's wrong? The VP Shane and
I can't hear nothing. Can you hear me?
yeah, I can hear you. You can't hear me?
I'm gonna have to jump.
That was VP Shane. But yeah, I said Bud is 6-0 with 6 KOs since going up to 147. 2 of the fights were pay-per-view. The other 4 was main event prime time on the biggest overall sports platform on the planet. Before that, he went undisputed at 140 and has been in everyone's top 5 pound for pound for the last few years. Bob paid him his guarantees for every fight and does not owe him any fights. It's no way he wins this case. I'm not a lawyer and I can win this case for Arum. Got to prove beyond a reasonable doubt in the court of law. So that's what I put in the group chat at that particular time. Conrad also said the only hope they got is some leaked emails or audio recordings. Even if they had leaked emails or audio recordings, I mean, does that actually prove Bud's case? Like, even if it was leaked emails or anything like that, is it proving anything outside of him just being a jerk? You know what I'm saying? Shane having a problem with his audio. Yo, put a 1 in the comment section if you can hear me, because Shane's saying he can't hear me. Put a 1 in the comment section if you can hear me. Put a 2 in the comment section if you can. Said after YSM said after reading the docket, he has a chance of winning the case. Can you hear me? Okay, cool. Conrad said he can hear me. YSM said after reading the docket, he has a chance of winning the case. I have not.
What? YSM, please explain the ground. Sorry, I came in a gun shooting. Please.
No, he said the defamation part of the case is what's winnable. Adrian, appreciate that, bro.
I did see it, and even that you can't.
You read the docket? You read the docket?
I read so basically when I first saw it, I had read all the reports, the articles and stuff, but then I read the grounds and the examples that were used in the references. Bro, as much as I love Terence Crawford and YSM knows this, he has no grounds. And I think Terence Crawford knows he has no grounds as well. I think Terence Crawford done this for a different reason, which I'm assuming we're going to get into later. I think he done it for a different reason because there is no grounds to this case. You won't be able to prove anything in the court of law. Trust me, you won't be able to prove anything. And the fact that he used the race card, and I have to say race card, even though I can make the argument that everything that Terence Crawford's saying is right, to prove it is going to be ridiculous. But the fact that he used the race card proves my point even more, that it was more about public perception than actual trying to win a case. And I explain why. But go ahead. Why can you explain?
Yeah, I'll get you in here in a minute. Yeah, that's actually what I said when I first started. There's a difference between being right and being right in the court of law.
In fact,
There's a certain burden of proof that you have to show to actually win the case. So even, and again, I have not read the docket. I have not read the docket. I will read it after this live. Um, but the even with the defamation part, so why some say the defamation part of the case is what's winnable. I don't think the defamation part is the part that gets them to 10 million though.
and I
I
don't
think
think
the racial part is the part
it,
that they're banking
it's
on to
the
get them to
pub.
10 million.
I think the racial part is part of this propaganda ploy. And sorry to use my again. Basically, when I studied journalism, the one thing that we always had to go over was defamation of character. Now, I don't know how the law is for in America, but I'm pretty sure it's pretty much the same thing. Defamation of character, and when it comes to the legalese of how you publicly present something, is if you look at the wording of how Terence Crawford presented the case, or whoever his representative presented the case, it was clear that what they were accusing him of wasn't what was being presented. So what they were presenting was there's a racial bias. That wasn't, and even the defamation case, you will never see Terence Crawford suing Bob Arum for defamation. Do you want to know
I
why? Because that doesn't equal to 10 million. As Jeff just
yeah,
said, that doesn't equal to 10 million.
I
Sorry, Jeff.
no go.
Terence Crawford um suing Bob Arum for racial bias just based on public perception and how you present that information is so much more palatable for a jury or a magistrate or whoever is going to be seeing this case. That's my point for why I say it's for a bigger reason.
Why some actually stole my thunder. He said that this case will be settled out of court. Yeah, I don't think this case gets to in front of a judge, and that was the other part I was going to get into. Um, it's just again, I haven't read the docket, but the defamation. There's so much defamation that goes on in the sport of boxing every single day. Um, I mean, Glove Cake could have went to court
I
for
mean,
defamation. Like, you know what I
Tyson,
mean? Like,
Tyson Fury could literally go to court for defamation, saying that
yeah,
he picked a
so
drug cheat. Like
it's like
literally,
what are we yeah, like so what are we talking? I mean, um Canelo could take Floyd to court because Floyd said Canelo was on the juice. Like it's just how deep are we gonna go down the rabbit hole with the defamation thing? Like that's why I agree 100%. This thing gets handled outside of court, and when I say handled out of court, that doesn't even mean money gets exchanged.
I was just about to say that because it's very similar to when we saw um um Canelo sue the zone. Canelo sued the zone and his next fight was on the zone. So sometimes you could just do that to position yourself in a better position. For example, I assume Dylan White took the WBC to court to hopefully put himself in a better position. Most of the time, you don't intend for court proceedings because it's fees and all of like it takes a certain amount of time. Majority of the time, you're trying to get something else out of it. And for me, I don't think it's money. I'll explain what I think it is when we get deeper into this conversation. Because personally,
Uh
trust me, I don't think Terence Crawford is seeking the monetary side of things.
big shout out to YSM, man. He just texted me to basically the docket. Um, big look out for that. Um, yeah, it's just and just I want to say this real quick. Just because someone says they don't think Bud can win in court, don't mean the person saying that is not true. Like boxing is the grimiest sport in the world. Like it's the grimiest sport in the world.
Um,
So
how many
nope.
times has Don King been sued in boxing? That's
Yeah, like it
exactly.
just
He's done the
yeah,
worst atrocities in boxing. How much times has he been successfully sued?
yeah, like I mean it's it's crazy. You know what I mean? Like it's really crazy. I mean, we've had people say things about Eddie Hearn and threaten Eddie Hearn, like fighters. Like
Leonard Ellerby.
Ellerby, yeah, Ellerby, like, you know what I mean? So it's just, and I'm isolating the defamation part. I'm isolating the defamation part. I'm all for the racial thing for the moment. But I'm like, if he wins the case for defamation, every YouTube channel might as well just close their doors.
I mean,
Cause
not every YouTube channel. This YouTube channel won't, because we know, well, I know exactly how to word things so you can't get defamation charges, especially when it comes to making headings. Because if we accuse anyone of anything, the easiest way to get out of it is just put a question mark. Like, for example, I remember people were accusing Pacquiao of taking drugs, and I remember what they done was, and this is a mainstream newspaper in the UK. Instead of accusing Pacquiao of taking drugs, they literally said fans say Pacquiao is a drug cheat. You can't sue someone for that.
right.
You can't sue
Yeah.
someone for that.
So yeah, so the racial part, like the racial part is, that's why I said earlier in the chat, like Terrence Crawford. I guess if so, the racially biased stopped him from getting big fights. What fight on the top ranked side Bud didn't get that he probably should have got because of race? See, these are the questions that I like to ask, because if a problem is presented, I'm gonna ask questions from both sides of the fence, and we're
Yeah,
talking court of law. So I'm asking what questions can be answered that's gonna have him win the case in a court of law.
exactly. I mean, another question that I think what you asked is checkmate, basically, because you can't answer that question. Nobody can answer that question. Not even Terence Crawford can answer that question. But the problem is, where did you get this $10 million figure from? That's what I want to know. Where did that come from?
Yeah, I just I'm confused in a lot of areas, because I'm just confused because um the case, once I read this docket, I probably can point out probably 100 different cases where a fighter can sue a promoter, or a promoter can sue a fighter. Um, like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm curious to read the docket now. Like, I didn't even know the docket was out, so I'll be able to read it later on. It's just, I'm thinking the only fight that Bud could have got was the Pacquiao fight. But there's plenty of people that did get the Pacquiao fight. And you can't say, in a sense, it's a race thing, because Tim Bradley got what, two, three cracks at it?
Yeah.
He got two,
I
three
mean,
cracks at it.
there's
So
no way
I don't
on
know.
earth. There's no way on earth you can prove the race thing. As much as
I,
I believe a lot of Bob Arum has openly said that he prefers to promote Latino fighters. He's openly said that because they're easier to promote. As much as
now
even
is that comment just a business fact?
no, he just made it out of business. But even after hearing that, you still can't sue him for that.
Yeah, like I mean, yeah, like so it's just it's kind of like I like, it's like me saying I like Spanish women over white women. Like, where do you draw the line of preference versus, like, I'm
Yeah,
discriminating against the white woman? Like, you
I
understand what I'm
I
saying? Like,
think
so
this
it's
case is
I
is all about propaganda, bro. It is all about media attention.
I'm
It doesn't float, bro.
I'm because
That will
I'm
get
gonna
thrown out
because
straight away.
I'm waiting for Vlog to get in here. I actually want him to get his off before I bring anybody up here. But that's the part that kind of just confuses me. Conrad, he said, when did Bud resign with Top Rank for the last time. That
2 years
was
ago.
that was 2 years ago. That was
When
two
when
years
wait,
ago.
you can't send YSM in here though. You can. I actually want to understand someone who's pro, who believes this case actually can hold, because
Let
I
me
don't see
text. Let
how.
me text. Let me text Blunt real quick.
I don't
Hold on.
see how this case could even be 5%. Like, it's almost a case of, as soon as it's being presented, it's gonna get thrown out. There's no way, and he won't get a cent out of it neither. This is one of the worst cases I've seen in boxing. This is one probably the worst case I've seen, most outrageous case I've ever seen in boxing.
Hold on a second.
And
Uh,
even the money part, Bob Arum can say he lost so much money on Eddie Terence Crawford, which is a fact, because he's overpaid him for the last few fights.
yeah, but listen, if we know Al Heyman don't talk, right? But if Al Heyman came out and said he lost money on Luis Ortiz and Charles Martin, is that defamation?
Yeah,
It's not. Like it's just sometimes when you speak in facts, it's not defamation. Like there's a lot of promoters
yeah.
that lose money on fights. There's promoters that do club fights and they might lose money um because of it. So it's just
I'm telling you, this case is all about propaganda. It's all
I
about public perception
I'm
and
gonna
trying to
give
sell a narrative.
yeah, I'm gonna give
Nothing to do with money, nothing to do with a court. It's nothing to do with that. It's
yeah,
all
I'm gonna give
because
Blunt a couple minutes, see if he
Crawford,
respond. If not, I'll get why some up in here.
Crawford is an intelligent individual. He knows there's no grounds for this case. He knows that. I can
I
almost guarantee
I
he knows that.
I feel like it's so much more that's going on with this behind the scenes that we just don't know about. Like I when I say I'm rarely surprised by things or just things just come out of left field. I kind of just take it in stride. Like when I heard it, I was like, well, I'm like, what? Like it wasn't the thought. Like it wasn't the thought. Like you understand what I'm saying? Like because there's people that say like Eddie Hearn don't promote the black fighter. But I'm
I
like, the
mean,
thing with Eddie Hearn, I said Eddie
I've
Hearn
never
is
heard
just
anyone ever say that. I mean,
yeah, no, it's
I
people
heard
in the
one
states that have
person.
said that.
No, no, I'm not gonna lie. There was one person who said it in the UK as well, and that was uh Liam Callum Smith's trainer, old trainer Gallagher, out of the Gallagher gym. He used to train Callum Smith, Liam Smith, the Smith brothers, Anthony Crawler, and basically everybody that comes from Liverpool. He used to train, and basically he's accused Eddie Hearn of that as well. That he doesn't.
Yeah,
This is a white dude who accused Eddie Hearn of that as well. But
that
anyone who ever thinks that does not know anything about Eddie Hearn's history,
because
because
that's what I'm saying. Like, because it's if you really look at it, like he just hasn't had success getting the black American fighter the big fight because of politics. It's not because
yeah.
of any of that. Conrad said 2 years hard to make a case then.
And
Yeah,
just said this earlier today, bro. Every promoter is in the business of green. That's it, bro. They're in the business of green.
I just think I just think Bob Arum sees green and he's old. And he just gonna do whatever's best for business. To be honest with you, I can keep it a beam. Just on the surface, it looked like he did Mikey Garcia way worse than Terrence Crawford.
Way worse.
I can make the claim,
And Zerda Ramirez.
and I think he did Zerto worse. On top of that, I can say who else he did bad. Um I had one more name in mind and it's slipping me. Who else did Bob Arum do bad?
Let's think about it. Let's think about it. It's difficult because hmm,
I had somebody in mind specifically, and I can't think of.
was it a recent fighter?
I said Mikey Garcia. Somebody else he put on the show. Mikey
I mean,
Garcia,
Zerda Ramirez,
Zerto. somebody else I had in mind. Somebody else
I mean,
I
you
had
could
in mind.
even argue, and I know you wasn't thinking about him, but you could even argue Pacquiao. You can
He
even make the
did.
argument for
He was
Pacquiao.
skimming. He was doing Pacquiao real bad too, even from the money standpoint. Like he
Yeah,
was doing,
you
he
could
was
even
robbing.
argue
He was robbing
Pacquiao.
Manny Pacquiao like crazy. He was robbing him something serious. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, it's
So
like one of clear bias when it's racial is Golden Boy and Mexican fighters. They don't promote any other thing other than
there's,
Mexican fights.
I think there's more of a case for Oscar De La Hoya than it is for Bob Arum, because
Facts.
his roster actually proves the case.
Facts.
Um, and he's I think he only has really like 2 black fighters on his roster, and one of the black fighters lost years ago, and I don't think he ever jumped back into the ring. Like he lost like a step up fight on ESPN, and he'd never seen the ring again.
The reason why what you gotta understand is when it comes to boxing, it's all about preference. So a promoter is gonna decide who he's gonna put money behind. That's it. And the other fighters, they have to earn that love from what's it called? So for example, you see someone like Dave Allen. Eddie Hearn loved Dave Allen, so he kept putting him in fights where he's going to make ridiculous amounts of money. You have situations where he had Michael Hunter, and as soon as he had Michael Hunter, he just got rid of him after like a few fights. You can say that's down to race, but it could just be down to the fact that he prefers a person over another person. You see my point? Sometimes a fighter is just going to, a promoter is just going to choose, who am I going to put my money behind? You see my point? Sometimes that's what it comes down to. And maybe Bob Arum, I know this for a fact, Golden Boy are more willing to take, because it comes down to who are you going to take a loss on? Golden Boy are more likely to take a loss on a Mexican fighter than a black fighter. That's a fact. That is a fact. But for
Yeah.
me to prove that in a court of law, I can have so much cases, but I still won't be able to sue them. Because at the end of the day, it comes down to what is in black and white.
No, that's a fact. That's a fact. Conrad, he said there are holes everywhere you look. Man. He said he failed to make Loma big too. Uh Loma had a certain aura about him when he came in. Big Tree, what's going on, bro? He said, what happened, G?
But
Hold on, let me explain it to Tree real quick. Hopefully, prayers go out to your family too, man. I'm gonna hit you up after this live. It means people's in the hospital, whatever. So I'll hit you up. But basically, Crawford is suing Bob Arum in court for up to $10 million for racial biasness that has cost him big fights and big money in his career. So we just chopping it up in regards to that.
I mean, that is one of the worst. I've never heard in my life of living a case so poor by such a big name. Someone who is actually a public figure make such a bogus claim and actually take it to court, because it
I
could be so true, but
It
you can't
could
prove
be.
that.
That's my thing. I can point out so many other cases where, because to be honest with you, Bob Arum trying to get out of paying somebody, he actually did that with Floyd because he owed Floyd a fight before Floyd bought himself out of the contract, and Jay Prince sent the goons down to Floyd's gym and put some Louisville sluggers on folks. Bob Arum told that story himself, and he said he tried to write a check for $750,000. He said, "You don't write a check to Jay Prince, you give him cash." He told that story live on ESPN. So
I,
that's him trying to rob somebody.
I mean, Jeff, you might as well explain what to a lot of people what I didn't know this morning, which was when you were talking, you brought up Jay Prince, so you might as well bring up the UK Jay Prince.
So people don't know that Terrence Crawford is linked with MTK Global, and which means he's linked up with Daniel Kinahan. So which completely changes absolutely everything, which again makes this lawsuit even more crazy because Tyson Fury is with MTK and MTK does business with Bob Arum.
Josh Taylor's with MTK as
Josh
well.
Taylor's with MTK. So I don't even think it's in MTK's best interest to suggest Crawford sues Arum because it's messing up business, potential future business for them. So that I just got a lot of. I feel like it's just going to be a wave of new information that comes out for maybe like a week, and then after a week, they're going to say it got settled, and then everything's going to be back to normal.
Yeah, yeah, that's literally it. Again, I just feel like this is all about propaganda at the end of the day. Something that
YSM
you
hit the
can.
nail on the head. He said he thinks this gets settled out of court. I think they sit down and they
But
get this thing dropped.
but if I was Bob, I wouldn't do that.
So let me ask this then. Al Heyman did not get Gary Russell, Leo Santa Cruz. Is he gonna get taken to court? He was probably like Al has made plenty of promises to people and didn't cash in.
I mean, I didn't get Charles Martin, Wilder, Charles Martin.
Yeah, like so that's what I'm saying. This is like where, because once you start this, you can basically you might as well revamp the entire sport.
Yeah,
Might as well revamp it.
I mean, I think again, I just think this is just a threat. This is just a way to gain the narrative in the public eye and threatening someone with a leak, because most of the cases don't actually, the only case that I actually see actually go through and actually get taken to court where people have to, like, there's actually a judge and jury at, well, when I mean the only case I've seen of recent is, what's it called, Fury and Wilder. Every other case, bro, it's most of the time to position themselves to get a better deal, or to get out of a contract, or to get an extension, something along those lines.
You know what I was thinking? You know who I was thinking about, bro? With the Oscar De La Hoya situation, Rashidi Ellis.
Okay.
YSM said that's a pretty expensive lawyer for this to be just an attempt at public opinion. So let me get at that real quick. So what I do know is Terrence Crawford does have one of the best sports and entertainment lawyers actually trying this case. So I mean, let's keep it a bean. Like, I mean, Crawford can afford it, and
But
he can afford it. So I'm not
I'm glad you
surprised.
just said that, and because now you just said that makes me even more confident that I know this is about public opinion, because a person who knows that much about law will tell him, if this goes to court, you won't win. The reason, and I love the fact that YSM said he will win, his best chance of winning the case is through defamation. Well, if that was the case, then why wasn't that attached to every headline? You want to know why? Because it's about public perception. That's why. Because defamation of character doesn't generate the backlash, the social backlash that racial bias does. That's my point. This is all about public perception. Because if the foundation of his case was based on defamation, then every single outlet, every single article, every single individual will be speaking about defamation instead of racial bias. The reason why racial bias was attached to is because the domino effect. That's why, YSM, you went on live yesterday and you spoke about racial bias for 2 hours. That's why everybody and their mother done it, because they know that public perception is more important than anything, bro. Before you even go to court, if the public perceives has a certain narrative, that's more important than any court case. That's why if you go to most like real high court cases, juries can't even watch the TV. Juries can't watch TV because of public perception.
Yeah, but they're told not to watch the TV, like not to watch the news or anything like that, because they could be easily influenced. YSM, I don't know what your situation is. Drop a one or something in the comment section. Let me know if you're still trying to come up because I ain't hear from Blunt. So I'll get you in here. Big shout out to TMF CMOS. What do you think about the 80-20 split with Fury and White? White didn't fight Otto and wanted Fury, but isn't happy with the 5.5 million offer. I say accept it and fight instead of stalling and purse bids.
Nope. I would definitely not say that, because if you just, and really and truly, everything Jeff said has gone literally to perfection. Because I don't know if Eddie Hearn listened to Jeff when he made this decision, or it's just basically simple maths, which is there will be no deal made at 80-20. And Eddie Hearn said it himself. If it goes to purse bids, I'm going to win, and Dylan White's going to get what he wants. Basically, Jeff, tell them what that means, because if they don't know what that means, it's basically pretty simple.
So basically, for Fury, is best that it don't go to purse bid, because if it goes to purse bid, he's not gonna win. So even if Eddie Hearn wins, whether Dillian White gets something on the front end, Eddie Hearn can guarantee that money on the back end for him to get the amount that he actually wants. But this is a situation where I told Dillian White years ago, go the other route. Go the other route. Everyone he'd have ran through to go the other way, you know what I'm saying? Like he would have got a title shot. He'd got a title shot already.
Who never already got the title shot?
He'd already got the title shot, but he ain't want to listen to your boy. And that's what happens. Why some say headlines are about what's sexy, Shane. Journalism today is more about sizzle than substance. We have talked about this before.
Bro, I know that. I know that for a fact, and that's exactly why I'm telling you that the wording of everything that I've seen is perfectly orchestrated for something that is it's all about public perception, bro. I'm telling you, I know that for a fact.
I gotta get him in here in a second because I just seen some news. He said I caught the docket after the live. I wish I had it. Would have been completely different. Yeah, that's what I'm saying, man. Like it's once you read something like that, it really forms your opinion, like just officially, because you can reference the docs. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna send it to your phone. Edwin Castillo, what's going on, player? What's up with you?
Before you say the news, I'm going to give everyone what I believe has happened. So the track record of Top Rank is very simple. It's very difficult that you see a high-profile fighter leave Top Rank clean. Floyd Mayweather had to buy out his contract. Pacquiao had to sit on the bench for a while. Mikey had to sit on the bench for a while. We just saw Zerdo have to sit on the bench and turn on a mandatory. Terence Crawford just leaving Top Rank so simply just doesn't fit what normally happens with Top Rank. So in my opinion, I believe legally, and I just heard Bob Arum say this maybe 2 weeks ago. He said, if I offer Terence Crawford something or the right number, he will take it. So in my opinion, there is something legally still hanging over Terence Crawford's head when it comes to attaching himself to Top Rank. By him sending some form of superficial court case in Bob Arum's direction, it's almost like a counter threat or a counter punch, which is basically, I am severing ties with you and I'm going to win the public perception. The reason why he's doing that is purely and simply because he is literally trying to cut ties, and Bob Arum isn't, because Bob Arum literally just said, if I offer him the right amount, he will sign, which is basically mean that he ain't trying to let go. That's my opinion. I think this is all about public perception and trying to present a narrative. That's what I believe. I could be wrong, but I don't think it's about
because I actually want to hear. I actually want to hear his opinion on this after reading the docket. So we haven't read it yet.
No.
So I actually want to hear his opinion on this.
I've heard the defamation clause. I know what it's about. and it's still got no weight to it. I've heard what it's about.
And for me, I'm just like, if all of that is true, what other fighter outside of Pacquiao did he miss out on that cost him millions?
No one.
That's my question. Because I'm like, if you mention anybody outside the top rank, it's politics. It's politics. I can't wait for you to get in here.
Racial bias can't prevent you from getting a fight when you have to do business with someone else to get the fight. It don't
Yeah,
make sense.
Edwin said, just coming in, but Crawford has no case. He made more
None.
than Errol freaking Spence, and they're both PBC. Um, the thing I I think that's the main part of the case that's kind of alarming to me. He said he missed out on big fights that cost him millions. That highlights more than the racial part for me. I'm like, what did he miss at 150, 147, and or 154 that cost him
Or
millions out,
140.
or 140 outside of pack? So he fought at 140. There was nobody there. Everybody that was popular came after Bud left. He went to 147. He basically fought everyone on his side but Manny, and he couldn't fight nobody on the PBC side, and we
And
all know why. So
you could
I don't
also
know what.
you could also make the argument, bro, when he initially moved up to 147, Manny Pacquiao had just lost to Jeff Horn. And he fought the winner of Jeff Horn and Manny Pacquiao. And Bob Arum could easily say, I would have given you the winner. He could have easily said that. And I gave you the winner. Because Pacquiao had lost. He could easily say, you know what? I would have given you the winner of Pacquiao and Horn. And I gave you the winner of Pacquiao and Horn.
And on top of that, he got a PBC fighter over the top rank, which is damn near impossible.
Bro, there's
So
no ground. There's no ground to
I'm
this case.
just
There's zero grounds to this case. I've never seen a case so scandalous in my life.
and again, I'm like, is it some truth to it just from an outside the court standpoint?
Of course.
Maybe. You know what I'm saying? But it's just, when it comes down to it, you get, and I don't care how big the lawyer is, bro. I don't care how big the lawyer is. They'll tell you when a case is DOA. They'll tell you when a case is DOA, and they'll take a big case like this because they know the bag gonna be right.
And they know that it's gonna create enough controversy in the media. Really and truly, bro, most of these dudes are millionaires. Money means nothing to them, but public perception means everything. How you're perceived in the public means everything.
I'll say this too. Every lawyer that takes a Fed case, a Fed drug case, the Fed's conviction rate is 98%. They still take the case, right?
Exactly.
YSM Sports Media, what is going on, good brother? You have the floor.
Oh, what's going on, fellas?
What's up?
So I feel like I should have looked up the docket first before I
Who told you it was
before
out?
I went live.
Who told you it was out?
I had a friend that said they looked at it, but I didn't ask him for it.
Gotcha.
And then I saw it on Facebook the day later.
Gotcha.
Now in the docket, it more so in, like, the introduction, it touches on the racism. But then I looked at exactly. Wait, hold on.
Mm-hmm.
I think he put himself on mute.
And then I looked at the actual complaints.
Right.
And it's a breach of contract, defamation, etc. And then I actually sat back and I read the whole thing, and then I thought about it. Okay, what could Terrence Crawford win on defamation? All right, so when Terrence Crawford let it be known that he wasn't going to renew his contract, Bob Arum did, I'm going to say, a semi-smear campaign on how much he's lost promoting Terrence Crawford and how the pay-per-views have done, and basically just a bunch of disparaging remarks in regards to Terrence Crawford's ability to draw. But he is still under contract as Terrence Crawford's promoter. That in itself will affect Terrence Crawford going forward as far as quality of deal that he will get from another promoter. That is the grounds that I think that they will settle on. Not the racial bias. That's going to be too hard to win.
Right.
But that in itself actually affected his ability. And the funny thing that this came right after the remarks by Tim Smith on the PDC podcast. And I felt like that was probably the trigger.
What was his remarks?
I'm going to paraphrase, but I don't want to. We don't want to insult Mr. Crawford.
Oh, I seen that. I seen that.
And basically, for all intents and purposes, he was saying, "Look, he ain't been promoted right. He ain't worth the money that he wants."
Go ahead, Shane.
So, can I ask you? I'll never put you on the spot, YSM, because I got way too much respect for you. Can I ask you? Did anything that Bob Arum say, was it factually incorrect?
I don't know if it was factually incorrect because I would have to see the top ranked books to say that.
So this is why I say this, because I believe that Bob Arum has taken losses on Terrence Crawford. I believe that. I don't know. I don't believe. But unless Terrence Crawford can factually prove that what he has said is incorrect, like, for example, imagine if Eddie Hearn came out and said, "Oh, I've lost so much money promoting AJ. AJ's lost me so much money." All of us can say that's a lie. I don't know if what he's saying is incorrect. Therefore, whilst it may be insulting and unfair, it's still not defamation. Defamation is presenting an untruth to defame an individual. That's all it is. He's not presented an untruth to my knowledge, so he still can't win the case. And I love Crawford, but he still can't win it.
Shane, your number one job as a promoter is to do what? Promote said fighter, right? In a positive manner, right?
It's just there is. I'm assuming there is no legalese that's saying that I just have to promote you. I have to present you the finance and promote you. It doesn't mean I have to necessarily like you. It doesn't mean I have to say positive things. I'm gonna tell you the truth.
No, Shane. If you are promoting, oh wait, my cat, bad cat. All right, if you are promoting a fighter negatively, and mind you, I agree. I just think that they're going to settle based off of this. If you are promoting a fighter negatively because he has said he doesn't want to re-sign with you, and the statements being made, and while we may think that Bob Arum's lost money, unless we see the books, we're not going to know for sure. Do you agree?
No, that's a fact.
So if that will affect and has affected his future earnings, that makes the case winnable. I didn't say he'll win it. I said they'll settle out of court.
And now this is the counter that I would have to you, not to you, but to Terrence Crawford, which is, if you remember, after Kell Brook versus Terrence Crawford, Bob Arum came on TV and said he lost money on this fight and it's hard to promote Terrence Crawford.
No. In quote, he said, "I could build a house in Malibu for the money that I've lost in the Terrence Crawford fight."
So that, correct me if I'm wrong, YSM, is that not a negative? Is that not a negative? Just when you're talking about Crawford, is that not a negative?
Yes.
He still put money up for the Porter fight.
Doesn't matter. Would that affect offers for future earnings for Terrence Crawford? Yes or no?
But I haven't. Again, I think it all comes down.
Would that be negative? I said, would that make him negatively perceived?
No,
by
100%. But it doesn't mean that it's a lie, though. It doesn't mean that it's a lie.
You want my North Philly answer? Or you want my
I want both.
my bar answer?
Go on, I want both.
All right, you want both? All right.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna give you the bar answer first. So you're 100% correct. If you're getting paid to promote, and you're promoting in a negative way, yeah, you could definitely seek some type of action on that. So I do agree with that. So that's my bar answer. My North Philly answer is, despite Bob Arum actually saying those things, and we don't know whether it's true or not true, whatever the case may be, we all know that Crawford is guaranteed a certain amount of fights for a certain amount of time for a certain amount of money. Last time I checked, regardless of how delusional Bob Arum can be at times to just be on some old shit, bottom line is he followed up all that bullshit talking with probably the biggest opponent he got him out of everybody that he's fought at welterweight. He went across the street to do it. On top of that, Bud still got his last fight in, and he got his guarantee. So, but the future, hold on, but for future, one more thing, Shane. But to answer the question about future earnings, I'll answer the question with a question. Bud wasn't perceived as a pay-per-view guy before the talking, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, he wasn't a pay-per-view guy before the talking because his numbers didn't say he was a pay-per-view guy. And if you look at Top Rank's their history, they usually only have one guy that's actually doing major pay-per-view numbers. It's usually only one, maybe two. They luck up, maybe two. So it's kind of it's sketchy it's sketchy all around, man. Like,
I can only think
of
one guy at a time, to be honest with you.
Yes, that's a fact.
Unless we're going back to that Hagler Leonard.
That was just different.
I mean, and again, I think it all comes back down to, I believe, and this is the thing, when YSM said they will settle out of court. If I'm Bob Arum and I can prove everything that I've said, now let's say Bob Arum has taken a loss and made a loss on all this stuff, and he can prove it factually with records. And I could actually, if this was in the UK, I could actually check this, because you'd be able to see on something we have called Company's House, but you can't do that in America. But you'd be able to see the records of everything he's done and all the money he's gained or lost. If Bob Arum can prove that,
Shane, are pay-per-views disclosed in the UK?
Okay, so you would have to investigate, but I personally know how to find out how much pay-per-view sold, because you can investigate.
Is that a hacker answer?
So basically, promoters don't say it unless they do. Promoters don't say it unless they do a lot, and most of the time, companies won't say it. Like Sky or DAZN won't say it unless they do a hell of a lot. But if you know about how to get the information, then I know remember I was telling you how Loma done the worst ever pay-per-view on Sky. Certain things, I was telling Jeff that.
Yeah.
Like when I was doing articles, one of the articles I always used to do was present all pay-per-view numbers. I always used to do that because no one ever done it, and I know how to find out the information. But yeah, you can figure it out in a roundabout way.
Let me get in these comments real quick. Edwin said, I think Crawford is burning a bridge and he hasn't learned the business side of boxing, that he basically doesn't know what to do next. Maybe no one wants to pay what he's asking for. The promoter's job is not to make the fighter into a pay-per-view star. That's the job of his management and publicist. Bob is putting up the money for the fighter and expects a return. And second Ezra, what's going on, player? And No, it doesn't affect it. Bob is allowed to have an opinion on a fighter he puts millions towards and doesn't get back a benefit. That's why he didn't want to put all the money Tio was asking for. And you know what? That was the other person I was thinking about too.
Yeah.
Hold on, let me get this bot out of here.
But yeah, why I want to ask you this: if I'm Bob Arum and you're Bob Arum, and you can prove that everything I've said is factual, why would I settle out of court? I won't settle out of court. I'll take it all the way to the end. Why would you settle out of court?
No, because
let me see if YSM gives
I have
the
to be
same answer I'm gonna give. Go
I
ahead, YSM.
have to be careful with saying this. I don't think that the certain people in top rank want to be deposed. I'm just going to say that.
I really want you to elaborate, but I guess it's a conversation you have to have off the
camera. He stole my answer. That's exactly where where I was going, because it's two things. It's two things when you have a situation like this, Shane. It's two things. Number one, you look at how long the case is going to be and the amount of money can you get. Does that add up to the lawyer fees? Like, is it worth the time? That's number one. And number two, when you are going through with a case, even if Bob said, you know what, I'm a counter, like that gives Bud and his people that opportunity to depose any and everyone from out of that company. Any and everyone, and anything can any books can be asked for as well. So you really opening up Pandora's box when you're doing that.
I get that, but I'm just saying the negative connotation that is attached to this case, which is Bob Arum being plain and simply racially biased. He has a preference for one race over the other.
Shane,
go ahead.
That narrative has been around since before you and I started watching TV, let alone boxing.
Yeah. I mean, and that's
it doesn't matter.
That's what I'm saying.
You don't think Bob Arum will care about public perception? Well, maybe he doesn't.
Hey, Shane, I'm gonna tell you this story real quick, right? Like, why is something like I used to work for the streets department, right? So we used to have this guy. He used to go to court. He was like the lawyer for like the streets department. So people would sue the city for absolutely everything. Like, they would stub their toe on a sidewalk or something like that. They'll sue the city. Like, it'd just be dumbass claims, right? So it was literally one claim, right? This dude wanted $200. He sued the city for $200, right? Sued him for $200. It was the most frivolous claim you would ever see in your life. They determined that this is the city, that they were better off paying him the $200 versus paying the actual fees you got to pay to court, the actual schedule time and all of that. Like, they just cut him the $200. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like, they just cut him the $200. Like, no matter how crazy the case was.
I might go to Philly and do whatever he did.
Hey, yo, you got me thinking. Like, I wonder what's the threshold on that.
Listen, but that's what I'm saying. Like, it was the.
Why I was thinking the same thing. What's the threshold for this?
Yeah, but it was the amount. It was the amount that he was asking for, and the dude had a lawyer. Like, he had a lawyer, so it was like they're looking at it like, okay, well, you go ahead to pay the lawyer, you go ahead to do this, you go ahead to do that. You actually gonna lose money in this case. You know what? We gonna give it to you. You know what I'm saying? Like, not all cases are worth going all the way there. So Bob Arum can feel that way in terms of Bud's intent, but I don't think it's worth him actually going all the way down the road with it. You know what I'm saying? From a financial standpoint, he's going to end up paying whatever money he lost on Bud. He's going to pay the same amount of lawyer fees.
True.
I hear that.
Amount of lawyer fees.
Hey, Shane. People like, yo, big companies don't want to be deposed. Yo.
They don't. That's a fact. That's a fact. Yo, that is a fact, man. Yeah. Small companies don't want to be deposed. Like, it's just Yo, like
Messy. It's
that's
just
back
messy.
room, yeah. Like that's
It's
like
messy.
back room stuff. Like that's back room stuff, man. Like that's why I don't think this really go. I don't think this really goes anywhere. If I had to take a guess, I would say within the next 2 weeks,
But
this
I
thing
don't
gets
think
dropped.
Terrence Crawford gets no money out of this neither.
No, I don't think so. I don't think he get money out of it. It's just the thing. The thing I don't understand is you. The one thing this does prove is he can't come to nobody talking about no 50-50 with Spence, even though
Oh
you know
my
Yes,
gosh,
he cannot.
bro.
He
He,
cannot. Any
Jeff.
Bud fan.
That
Yep,
narrative's dead, Jeff.
it's dead. It's dead.
bro, it is. I
Dead.
think he'll be lucky to get 35%.
You
On God,
just told the
he'll
world.
be
You just told the
lucky to
world
get
that I'm not.
35%.
Yeah, you told the world that you know you're not a pay per view star. You should be bigger than what you are. So you look at it, the narrative's dead because number one, Spence had the bigger pay per view numbers. He's fought the bigger fighters on the bigger stages. He's gonna have more belts, and he has more business leverage, and he has more boxing leverage. So
I,
just off of that alone, you don't deserve 50-50.
and you
But
have
on
no,
top of this,
yeah, you have no options no more because
bro,
literally Al Heyman could offer whatever he wants to offer you because at the end of the day, you can't go back to Bob and ask for a deal. There's no one else out there you can ask for a deal from. You literally have to take what you get, bro.
bro, he
It's
just cut
literally
his
like
he just cut
if
his nose off despite his face, man. He just cut
literally if
his
you
nose off despite
starve,
his face.
now that's a fact. If you starve
I,
for 5 days, you don't care what
mm,
you eat, bro. You're gonna have to take what you get, and that's what he's done, bro. He's
Bro,
literally cut off all the streams that he can potentially make.
unless he already cut a deal with Al.
That's true.
but
That's
the thing,
dude.
but why is him though? If he already cut a deal with Al, why even go through the trouble?
You're right. You're right.
Why even go through the trouble?
Maybe it was again. I swear to God, I feel like this has got Floyd Mayweather written all over it, bro. Cause I've been listening to Floyd Mayweather recently. I heard him say the other day he was like, "Oh, racism exists in boxing," and he used Terence Crawford and Lomachenko as an example. And then
But
the other day he was talking about Bob Arum.
yeah,
So
but
this has
Loma
got
ain't. I
Floyd
said, but
written all over it.
Loma ain't selling out no arenas neither.
No,
Like,
in terms of how much money has been put behind each individual, I don't know. Ask Floyd. I don't know what Floyd was talking about. I just remember
but
hearing.
Hey,
the thing is, Bob Arum should be Floyd's best friend. Because if it wasn't for Bob, he would have never met Al.
Go ahead, YSM.
Am I
hey,
That's
lying?
yo,
true.
yeah. Hey,
Am I
yo,
lying? Yeah.
Facts.
hey, yo. But check this out, Jeff. I want to touch on something. It's a little sensitive, but I feel like it needs to be addressed.
Go ahead.
There's been a bunch of people that has been riding with Terrence Crawford, and I mean, like, just rough riding. Like they got a 10 speed on Germantown Ave,
Jeff, say it.
right?
Hey,
Jeff, say it. Jeff, say it. Say
the,
blunt saying.
Cobblestone.
the cobblestones. Yeah.
Jeff, say
Oh
it.
yeah, my man. Shout out to my man Blunt, man. On behalf of him, dick riding is not a great form of transportation. But go ahead. Go
So
ahead.
they have been riding with Terrence Crawford, but I'm starting to see a shift of energy when he decided to sue Bob Arum.
Mhm.
And my thing is, are you a Terrence Crawford fan or are you anti PBC? Because that's what it seems like. Because this destroys the PBC is the reason why Terrence Crawford didn't get these fights and why Terrence Crawford's in this position. This destroys that. So are you supporting Terrence Crawford? Because we don't know if it's true or not true. I'm not in Top Rank. I don't know.
Mhm.
But are you supporting Terrence Crawford? Or did you just like Terrence Crawford because he was the antithesis of Errol Spence?
Uh,
Right.
Personally, I
Good
think
question.
that is an amazing topic. Like that's a topic in itself because it creates two. Like for one, all of us being in boxing know that there's people who have a cult following for PBC and then there's a massive hatred towards PBC. So I guarantee there's a few people who believe exactly that. Now, I can only speak for myself being a massive Terence Crawford fan, but I will speak for a large population of Terence Crawford fans who actually identify when someone is wrong. And at the end of the day, as when I mean wrong, I don't mean that he's wrong in the sense that he might be right that Bob Arum has a bias. I'm not saying that. I mean, really and truly, what you're doing doesn't make any sense. And that's where I think a lot of Terence Crawford fans are turning away from it, because it's like, doesn't make any sense. Why would you do that? But I think majority of people are doing it because they hate PBC. And by him going against Top Rank, it's like he's almost built an alliance with PBC. And it's like, people don't like that. And I guarantee you, as soon as Terence Crawford does the inevitable and sign with Al Heyman, people are gonna hate on Terence Crawford. I guarantee
that,
you.
bro, that's weird.
But that answers the question, though.
No, and I know
That
that's why it's a good
directly,
topic.
yeah, that directly answers the question, because if Bud goes over to PBC, then those same people that was riding for Bud Crawford are probably going to be Bud Crawford haters at that point, because that's where their hatred actually lies. You know what I'm saying? Like, Bud is not the foundation of the hatred. The PBC thing is the foundation of the hatred. It's just Bud is kind of just a byproduct of it, and other PBC fighters are byproducts of the whole PBC model.
Jeff, can you
But
explain that to me? Can either one of y'all explain that to me?
I can. You talking about people's hatred for PBC?
Yeah, people's hatred for PBC, people's hatred for DAZN, people's hatred for Top Rank. It's like, bro,
I
it's
can.
like boxing.
Go on, Jeff.
Shane, you want to go first, Shane? Go first. Go first.
I can 100%, because at sometimes, bro, I criticize every single promotional company. But the reason why there's times where I will really criticize PBC, and there's times where I really criticize DAZN and Bob Arum, but really criticize PBC is the fact that I'm a boxing fan and I'm a boxing consumer. And to me, PBC mainly do not prioritize the value of consumer. That's what I believe. They believe that whatever they can put out, and I don't even live in America, so I don't pay $100 for pay-per-views, but whatever they put out is acceptable, and they do not value the importance of the consumer. There's one thing I'll say about Eddie Hearn, which is he values the importance of the consumer. I don't think he's that good. I don't think he does good things all the time, but that's one thing he values. He prevents so much fights, Al Heyman. If it's not on my side of the street, I ain't happening. He prevents so many fights. I can name numerous occasions where his fighters have literally, and they just present us something so rubbish. Like,
hey Shane, I thought you was gonna go in a different direction. I'm glad you didn't, because you usually be stealing my thunder, and I gotta find out what I'm gonna say after you stole my shit. So I'm gonna go a different route with this one, YSM. People, and you know this for a fact, people hate the unknown. People hate the unknown. Like, we feel like we know Al, like personally, like his business dealings, everything else. But when you actually think about it, we've never seen him on camera. We've never seen him speak. Like, he's like an enigma. People, because he's black and he's an enigma and he has the most power in the sport, that's the basis of a lot of people's hate. So that's number one. Number two, I'm gonna go here. A lot of the smoke that Al Heyman gets in PBC is because of the actual business model. And I'm gonna tell you why. So their business model is basically to avoid the Muhammad Ali Act being sued, in regards to the Muhammad Ali Act. So when you think of PBC is it's a conglomerate almost. Like, it's not even a promotional company. So when you really look at it, they have shell promoters to actually just put up the actual events. So they don't have a Eddie Hearn. They don't have a guy like that that's actually in these boxing streets busting moves. Like, so their setup really causes a lot of the hate as well. Because I said this to Shane a while ago, YSM, like, just let me paint this picture real quick. Imagine if Eddie Hearn was the exclusive, just day by day promoter of PBC. They would have the game completely on lock because Eddie Hearn actually does the job of promoting. The actual description of it, he actually does it. So just imagine him doing that for all of those fighters. It would be insane. So when a PBC event goes down, you don't know who's promoting it. You don't
But
know who's promoting it.
I don't think though. I don't think, because I'm not gonna lie. I can only speak from, I don't know Americans day by day's views towards boxing, and I don't even know where most of this hatred comes from. Because personally, I didn't even know Americans hate PBC. I just thought it was UK fans.
Oh no, it's serious. No, it's
Listen,
serious. It's serious.
Shane. Like I just read a comment from my man Edwin Castillo. He says he doesn't like their business model. Their fighters can't cross the street. Right? I feel like that is a false narrative. And let me explain why. How many Al Heyman fighters has Anthony Joshua fought? I'm counting 4. Terrence Crawford has fought about 4 Al Heyman fighters. Lomachenko has, I think, 1 before Gary Russell. And I can go on and on. They'll focus on the situation, like one situation like Terrence Crawford or Charlo versus Demetrius Andrade, but won't focus on Devin Haney, Vasyl Lomachenko, Devin Haney, Teofimo Lopez, where Bob Arum told you that he signed with the wrong promoter. He didn't hide. He told you right to your face, I'm not giving him shit because he didn't sign with me. And number 2, when are we going to get Bivol versus Beterbiev? Or is the only undisputed that we care about is in welterweight? I'll wait for that. Bro, Edwin, can you answer that question for me, bro?
YSM, right now, I won't even say you're preaching to the choir. You're preaching to the pastor, because there's no one on this planet who's asked for that fight. Bro, me and Jeff done a video 2 years ago. It's still on the channel. This is before I even used to show my face. And we said our number 1 fight that we want to see is Beterbiev versus Bivol. That's what we want to see. So that's a fact.
Wait,
I don't know.
There's no pressure from the public to make that fight. All they keep talking about is Spence Crawford and how PBC is ruining boxing. But nobody's calling for Bob's head.
There was pressure. And again, I'm only going to speak on British fans. The main reason why British fans don't like Al Heyman and PBC is because of Wilder. And the fact that in my mind, I think Wilder was right for turning down that 100 million, and me and Jeff both agreed with that. But a lot of British fans thought that Wilder was a duck, and he ducked that fight, and he didn't take 100 million, and Al Heyman was the reason. That's the reason.
And YSM, just to add on to that, bro. So I'm rewinding back to that time. I used to be on the channel actually arguing with UK people, trying to explain to them that the deal for $100 million wasn't. It wasn't. I'm not gonna say, of course, 100 million is lucrative, but I always look at it like this.
It's a noble offer.
Yeah, like, yeah, I'm like, if I look at it like this, like whoever's offering the bread, I'm like, how much are you making? Like, that's how you're supposed to look at things. So I'm like, if you're offering, if you're Wilder, I'm like, if you're offering me 100, which, mind you, they was already going to throw a heavy bag for the Brazil fight, period. So I'm like, essentially, you're basically talking $30-something million for 2 AJ fights. That was what was being promoted. They didn't factor in the fact that Dubai was going to be in it. So if you think about it, right? So think about it this way. This is what I was telling people. So I was like, let's just say Wilder takes the deal, right, YSM? He takes the three fight deal, $100 million. So he fights Brazil. He gets 30 million. We was getting guaranteed what, 30 million? 20. He was getting guaranteed 20. So you got 80 million between 2 AJ fights. So we're assuming he's making 40 million per AJ fight. If that fight goes down in Dubai, AJ made like it was
85
reported
million?
what 85 million for one. Wilder looked like a goddamn fool.
It literally, bro.
He looked like a goddamn fool.
You guys
Like,
got
you
to
understand
remember.
what I'm saying?
You guys got to remember, bro. When he was offered that 100 million, there was no location. He was just offered
He was
100
just
million.
100 million. Why?
The
Why
same year, AJ went and fought in Saudi Arabia. So, bro, that was obviously going to be the case.
I told this kid, he was arguing with me about that. I said, bro, I'm like he's basically the way that deal is set up. I'm like, Wilder's gonna fight AJ 2 times. Wilder's gonna take one of the checks. DAZN is gonna take the other check. When you seriously look at it.
A5, I got another one for you, right? So he goes and fights Brazil. AJ loses to Andy Ruiz. Now they have the rematch with Andy Ruiz. Okay, what is Deontay Wilder supposed to do now? Because he got a 3-fight deal with DAZN.
Yeah.
Based off of the verbiage of the contract, with number one, would DAZN have to pick his next opponent? Number two, would he have to just sit and wait for AJ? Or number three, could he be free to take an interim fight? Like, that's a whole bunch of
a YSM. And 4, is the contract voided because AJ is not available?
Or even more the money than that YSM, he's guaranteed 40 million. So if he fights a bum, you still gotta give him 40 million.
You still gotta give him 40 million.
If the verbiage says that the 40 million has to be AJ,
it has to be AJ.
That's
then
I would have to see the contract. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
it depends on the verbiage.
Yeah, so you literally signed up for $100 million. If it didn't shake right, you literally signed a shell contract for 20 million.
I would say this though, bro. I personally believe, and this is just me being honest, I think if the Wilder fight was signed, sealed, and delivered, I don't think Eddie Hearn would have fought Andy Ruiz. The reason why I say that is because if you look at it, when Wilder absolutely knocked Brazil out, it was almost a case of let's try and make a bigger statement than Wilder did. That's what it was all about. I feel like if that fight was already signed, sealed, delivered, they wouldn't even be trying to make a statement. But you do make a good point. But again, brings it back to my original point is I feel a lot of people did not like Al Heyman because of that. I wasn't one of those, but I remember a lot of people hated Al Heyman. It was almost like PBC versus, and it also comes back down to Floyd, because Floyd has said a lot of things on behalf of PBC, or sorry, not PBC, Al Heyman, in a sense that he said, we ain't in the business to make somebody else rich. We're in the business to make ourselves rich.
Hey Shane, how long ago was it when I said Wilder and AJ was $150 million fight?
Before the first around the time before
when they offered Wilder 12
when they offered Wilder 12
flat, when they offered Wilder 12 flat, I'm on camera. I said, yo, that's $150 million fight. Even Shane was like, bro, you bugging.
That's a bit too much.
He was like, yo, you bugging.
This was before AJ was offered 50 million. This was before AJ was offered 50 million.
This the thing. That still might be $150 million fight.
And I said,
I think that's more than that, bro. I think it's more than that, bro.
Bro,
this was before Saudi Arabia was even in the picture. People didn't even know Saudi Arabia was even in the picture.
Saudi Arabia wasn't even Saudi Arabia wasn't even in the picture when I made this statement. Like, I was just like, no, I said, no, that's $150 million fight. I'm like, what do they mean a 3-fight deal for $100 million? I was like, it's $150 million for that one fight. Period.
One fight.
Yeah, like, so it's just, but it just goes to show people that actually watch the sport, the business side and how it maneuvers behind the scenes is a whole different sport. It's a whole different sport. It's kind of like.
Do you sorry, Jeff, I didn't need to cut you off. Do you dislike PBC and YSM?
No, I get money with all them dudes, so I don't dislike nobody. To be honest with you, I like boxing. Whoever's
Fair
throwing
enough.
the event, I'm going. Like, you know what I'm saying, Jeff?
Yeah, yeah. I listen. We listen. I'm like this. I'm like, yo, whoever got the best card that day, that's who I'm rocking with. Like, you know
Literally.
what I'm saying? And
My
even
loyalty
if
to
you
the
didn't have
game.
the best card, even if you didn't have the best card, I'm a DVR your joint. I'm gonna watch it when I get in the crib. So
Have you got accredited? Have you got accredited to PBC, the Zone, and Top Rank?
Yes.
Okay. Your feelings. Does your feelings about the fights that they put on stop you from going to doing your job?
No.
Exactly.
I mean, I will
No.
say this though. I am very critical of bad fight. Like, if I was in America and I had to pay for Charles Martin versus 14, I wouldn't have been happy.
I said, it's just that's another business model. That's another business model thing. Like,
But that's my point where I say PBC don't prioritize or even think about or consider the feelings or the state of a consumer.
Shay,
business.
that is true and not true. Let me explain. They initially brought back free TV fights.
Mm-hmm.
Fans complained then. Fans said they want HBO. We don't want fights on free TV. Then they used that free TV model to make their young welterweight stars into pay-per-view stars.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to say they're pay-per-view stars or just pay-per-view fighters. And fans still complain. So I don't think it's actually the business model. I think it's who's doing it.
Well, I meant in terms of the guarantees.
But you can't.
Some of these they can't cover the guarantees, so they put
But
them on pay per
you
view.
can't give a reason. I get that, but you can't give someone a reason. So, for example, I'll never forget this. I'll never ever forget this. I remember when Eddie Hearn put on a pay per view, and it was Audley Harrison versus David Hayes.
I remember that.
Worst pay per view ever in history, and Sky Sports stopped doing pay per view forever. Well, not forever, but at that time they said we'll never do
it was a while. Yeah.
The backlash he got for that was pure. I don't know if you guys remember, every time Eddie Hearn ever goes on the mic, the whole entire crowd boos him. I don't know if you've ever seen this before, but they all boo him.
I like Eddie.
Sorry?
I like Eddie. I don't know why they do that.
But it all stems from that one thing. And that's why I say, I guess I'm a bit different because I live in the UK where it's all about consumer. Like, Eddie Hearn gets so much hate, and people always talk about two pay-per-views. David Hay versus Audley Harrison and Tony Belly versus Nathan Cleverly. They still hate him because of that. And to this day, this guy will still get hatred. He done an interview yesterday saying, "Oh, I'm finally not getting as much hate as I used to." Because he used to get hated just for that.
But I know why people in the US don't like Eddie Hearn. Once he offered Deontay Wilder 12 million flat, and AJ was gonna get a guaranteed 50, bro, they was like, yo, oh, this is what I'm talking about. And I'm just like, bro, I'm like, he has business leverage. I'm like, this is what he's supposed to do. Like, people took it so personal, and it's like, still to this day, you mention Eddie Hearn, and some people like, fuck Eddie Hearn. Like, you know what I'm saying? For real.
When you think of Dylan White and Tyson Fury, what do you think of that situation? I even speak to you about that.
Okay. It's weird because, first off, the split shouldn't be 80-20. Tyson Fury ain't built like that. It's number one. Tyson Fury, the success you've had on pay-per-view, it's because of your choice of opponent, not you.
Facts.
But you still got to give him credit for the buys. Dillian White, also, you need to decide on what's important. You finally getting that crack at a missing title, or the money. I can't. No, let me walk that back. I can't tell a man that the money. Nah, I can't, because I'm about my bread. I feel like 70-30, 65-35 is fair.
I thought
And
it should be
Eddie's right.
65,
Eddie's going to win the
35.
purse bid. Eddie's going
Oh,
to win the purse bid.
yo,
Ain't
he's
no
the
doubt
pound
about
for
it.
pound. He's the pound for pound king when it comes down to
Bro, he
that. Like,
literally just won. L-Dub told me he literally just won like 2 purse bids last week. He won a purse bid for Lee. He literally just won 2 purse bids last week.
yeah, he's the king of the purse because he got an unlimited bag. Like his bag is crazy. Let me get in these comments real quick.
Go.
Will Stokes, he said, what up? Hope you're well. Will, what's going on, bro? Said Bob definitely does not care about public perception anymore. He never cared about that. Conrad, and realistically, most casual boxing fans don't care about Crawford. They won't care for or follow his lawsuit either. Edwin, why Crawford is using a race card is strange. He resigned saying that it was the best deal his team got him. Bob freaking got Mayweather out of hot water with sharks, and that's before he was a star. The way Mayweather has been acting like lately, I think he's been drinking the stuff that's supposed to shoot out of the Surge Nerf gun thing he's promoting. Conrad, damn, this is more interesting than Law and Order episode. Yeah, we in here cooking, man. We ain't past the bar, but we know a little bit. You know what I'm saying? Edwin, I don't like their business model. Their fighters can't cross the street. They literally
YSM
said
just
they will. Yeah, we touched on that. Conrad, who was the fourth?
Charles Martin,
AJ?
Andy Ruiz, Eric Molina, and who was the other one?
Dominic Brazil.
Dominic Brazil.
Yeah. Edwin, what Spence among all others say call Al? Who has Tank fought his last pay-per-view?
Tank is a whole different case.
Yeah, that's a whole different case.
Wait,
YSL makes a good point. Yeah. Go ahead, bro.
About the Tank pay-per-view, first off, it was a stepping opponent. That's number one. Number two, Isaac Cruz is a Manny Pacquiao promotions fighter. Not out here.
Oh, we know.
No, I don't know. When I mean Tank is a different case in itself. I'm not even talking about that fight. I'm talking about in general, bro. They've literally handled his whole entire career with rubber gloves. Like literally babied him all the way he is.
One of the fights that's always mentioned, and that it is a complete false narrative, Jeff knows, the Tevin Farmer shit. They offered Tevin Farmer a more than fair offer. I was told by Team Tevin Farmer he was offered 2.4 plus pay-per-view. He responded with a counter offer of 6.
That's ridiculous. But
according to the narrative, Tank don't want to fight nobody. He ducked Tevin Farmer. True?
No, I've never said that, but I speak about other things that I've heard, especially from his own promoter, which is I'm not in the business to make another company rich. I'm in the business to make myself rich. Well, my point is you're in the business of making yourself broke, because right now, I don't care what you want to say. If you do a pay-per-view with Lomachenko, Teofimo Lopez, Devin Haney, Ryan Garcia, you make more money in a 50-50 split than if you kept 100% fighting a Rolly. And that's just a fact.
Sure about that? Are you sure about that?
Bro, I believe that. Because it might, well, maybe not Rolly, because Rolly's actually might be able to sell a fight. But based on his last few opponents, I definitely believe that. Barrios is not an attraction. So there was no need to make that fight.
I want to be honest with you. Is Lomachenko attraction, bro? Lomachenko's a great fighter.
I think Loma sells more. I think Loma sells more than Barrios.
You think Loma sells more than Barrios?
Yeah.
You do understand that Barrios has that Mayweather formula has always been black against Mexican or black against Latino, and it's always worked well for him. While I'm not sure about none of those dudes that you've named has ever headlined a pay-per-view for us to be certain of a successful pay-per-view. Would you agree?
Okay, but no, that's true. But in my opinion, and I would say if he fought a Loma or Ryan Garcia or even a Devin Haney, in my opinion, I believe that does more pay-per-view buys, significantly more pay-per-view buys than Barrios. Significantly. And if it doesn't, I really have to wonder how big of a draw Tank Davis is.
See, you notice that you putting the onus on Tank and not the other dudes, though, right?
Yeah,
No, let me.
he's the A side. He's the A side in all three of them
But
situations.
I will tell you why. Because it doesn't matter who AJ fights. It doesn't matter who Canelo fights. They fight anyone. They're doing a million pay-per-views or 60,000. He's the A side, so it shouldn't matter who we fight.
You are comparing them to the apex of the sport, though.
Well, isn't that what Mayweather just said he is?
Oh,
Mayweather just said that.
Yeah, he did. He did say that versus, but that's not reality though. We
But
all
that's
know
what
that.
Mayweather said. That's my point. That's what Mayweather said.
He's his promoter. He's supposed to say that.
I know, but then I'm going to hold you to that standard.
You be watching them Bob Arum interviews. No, you're supposed to speak positively about your fighter, not negatively.
No, that's true. But I'm gonna hold you to that standard. Then I have to hold you to that standard. That's what you are. If Boots came out and said, "Oh, I'm the best at 147," but he turned down a fight with Terence Crawford or Errol Spence, I have to hold you to the standard. If you're the best, take that fight.
But the thing about it is, I'd rather have my promoter overhyping me than either not hyping me at all or throwing shade. Like, you know what I mean? True. So that's why I'm like, I can't really. I understand what Floyd and Ellerby be talking about. It's just,
but my original point isn't invalid. My original point was they've handled his career with care. They almost basically they're doing what Eddie Hearn's doing with Conor Benn. That's what they're doing. They literally just protected it all the way through.
Okay, you didn't think Pedraza, you didn't think that was a dangerous fight?
It was a good fight. It was a step up fight, but I believe there was enough regression in Pedraza to see that Tank was going to win.
Hey Shane, they put him up against Pedraza to punish Tank.
Yeah.
Going into that fight, Tank said he wasn't ready for that fight. Like, he was beefing with Floyd at the time, so Floyd put him up against Pedraza because they was beefing. So even though there was enough regression and he ended up winning the fight, that was supposed to be a setup.
Yeah,
quiet as kept. That's supposed to be undefeated. He was undefeated. He was supposed to be in the setup.
Undefeated, but
he's supposed to be in the
setup.
We do
have to be honest. We see in the fight before. I can't remember the dude's name. He looked shaky in that fight. I can't remember the dude's name because he wasn't a big name that he fought in the fight before. And someone in the comments is gonna say it. But Pedraza, in my opinion, that was a good fight and that was a step up. But the way they've handled his career on a whole, I have to say they've handled it with care. They haven't been like when they moved up to 140, they fought Barrios. They moved back to his whole career at 135.
He shouldn't have. Yeah, I feel you, Shane, but he shouldn't even have moved up to 140 though, right?
But the reason why he moved up to 140, we're acting like we didn't know this. The reason why he moved up to 140 is because the fights at 135 weren't there. Because the fight he had at 135 was against Gamboa. Who else was he going to make money against? And then he moved back down to 130 to fight, what's my dude's name? Leo Santa Cruz. There was no fights at 135.
Listen, I do like when they announced the Barrios fight. That's the one fight I gave him respect for, even though he leapfrogged to 135. Because I was like, when you look at it on the surface before the fight happened, I was just like, why him though? Like, you know what I mean? I was just like, why him?
Because it's in house.
Yeah, Barrios is in house, but Barrios ain't no slouch neither. So that was a task within itself. So I did give him credit for that.
Though, and again, this model of black fighter versus Latino fighter, I think it's almost it only works for Floyd, really, if you think about it. When was the last massive mega fight in boxing on the whole between a Latino and a black fighter? Mega fight.
See, you said massive. Like, massive fights don't come around every year. Massive fights are.
Wilder versus Fury is a mega fight.
Canelo, so we talking on that level?
Oh no, we're not. Okay, we're not talking. We don't even have to be on that level. Okay, something that was. So I would say Errol Spence versus Mikey, which was black versus Hispanic or whatever.
Mexican.
Something on that level. When was the last time we saw a fight on that level?
Canelo versus Makubu.
That's funny.
I mean,
That's funny. That is funny.
Canelo don't fight that much black fighters anymore. I mean, I don't know, man.
Canelo looked like the paper boy standing next to Makubu, man.
Oh,
like,
Makubu was so much.
Yeah, he looked like the paper boy. Like, I was like, damn. Like,
Floyd said he will train Makubu for that fight as well.
Yo, Floyd, I can't stand Floyd. Yo. Like, Floyd annoys me, yo. I said he looked like he talked like he read off cue cards and shit.
That's why I said was
this is crazy, man.
I'm gonna get to this comment. No, I'm not against the Serbia for Bivol. Why they gave that doesn't make much sense. Why they gave yet to fight is crazy. Spence versus Crawford is a bigger fight that a lot of fans want. It would be that American fighters are better nonsense. Now, the reason why I think when YSM was talking about it, he wasn't talking about in terms of size. He was talking about, is that the only unification in boxing that people want to see? And why does Al Heyman get pressure when there's other unifications that don't take place? That's what I think YSM was alluding to. I don't want to speak to you.
No, you hit the nail on it.
Yeah, that's a fact though. But that's another thing though. Like, Al do take a lot of heat, you know, when it comes down to certain things. I think the biggest mistake he made was just overplaying his hand with the HBO thing. Like, I understand, you know, he cleaned it up because he went over to Showtime, got the $250 million deal for Floyd, and, you know, got Floyd over to Showtime, and it eventually worked out. But usually with Al, whatever he moves on from a situation, usually the bridge is burned. Like, pretty much like after Showtime, if that bridge get burned, it really ain't nowhere else for him to go except for really independent, really, or he got to pay for slots. You know what I'm saying? So, because even when he got the Fox deal, Fox got all the premium fights, and YSM, it was about a good year and a half where I wanted to cancel my subscription for Showtime. Yeah, that shit
got bad.
It was cheeks,
really bad.
straight cheeks. Like,
I mean, you can argue that Floyd is trying to turn Tank into Money Mayweather instead of making him Pretty Boy Floyd first.
Well, nobody wanted to be Pretty Boy Floyd. That's why I got so much respect for Floyd, because that Pretty Boy Floyd route wasn't pretty. He was fighting some killers. Man. He took some real tough fights. He took some killers.
He took Gennaro Hernandez at, what was he, 19 or 20?
Yeah.
Like, who's doing that? Yo?
Yeah. And then you understood why Gennaro Hernandez took the fight, because he like, oh man, this kid, man, I'm about to fuck this little kid up. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
but I want to see Tank. I want to see Tank, just like I want to see Canelo. I want to see these dudes in fights that have a relative, like I can name fights where I'd prefer to see Canelo win and Tank.
Give me the list of Tank fights.
The fight I want to see Tank fight the most, if we're talking about 135, is Devin Haney. I can give you a continuous list, but Devin Haney.
Come on, give me the list.
Devin Haney. I don't really care about Ryan Garcia. That dude is. I would have said Teofimo Lopez, but he's moved up to 140. So Lomachenko, I definitely want to see him versus Loma, because I think that's a winnable fight for him. And then
you said just at 135?
Well, yeah, if we're talking 130, if he does move back down to 130, obviously Shakur, I would, and I spoke to Jeff about this, I want to see this fight so bad. Him versus Chris Colbert, I really want to see that fight. So those are the fights I would want. I'm not going to talk about 140 because
I don't even think they would get Colbert the opportunity.
What about Rayo? Jose Valenzuela? Jose Valenzuela?
Nah, bro. Nah.
The name not big enough. No,
Shane. Bro. It's not even that. It's not even that, bro. It's not even that. To me, when it comes to this Four Kings narrative, it's always about historic fights for me. And that doesn't seem like a historic fight to me, personally. I'd rather see him even fight Prograde.
That's a fight I would want to see. But the thing is, though, every name that you mentioned, though, Tank holds the responsibility of selling.
Any fight he has, he would have that. Well, not so much with Devin Haney.
No, he would have that responsibility.
Not so much because of the guarantees. He doesn't really care about backing because of the guarantees. And the guarantees for that fight will be higher than the back end.
No, I mean, if he fights Devin Haney, who do people coming to see?
Oh, they're coming to see Tank.
Yeah, like, so you gotta. That's what I'm saying.
But that's the when you're a cash cow and that's how they're trying to build him. That's the burden you have to take.
Yeah, it's just like, I don't have a problem with the strategy up until a certain point. I feel like once you get him to a certain point, then you gotta kind of let it go.
If Tank retired today, bro, if Tank retired today, he wouldn't go down even nowhere near as a great fighter. He wouldn't go down as a great fighter. He wouldn't go down as having one historical fight. So doing anything in boxing that's historical, nothing. He would literally be, it'd be nothing. So you got to build him to that level, and fights like Rolly don't do it.
Let me get in this comment real quick. That's the thing, though. People need to stop the whole fighter loss. So now that fight doesn't matter. A loss doesn't mean the end of the career. Look at Vladimir, best heavyweight 10-year plus run. Conrad said Canelo versus Charlo. He said if it happens, man. He said hot dog knows Ellerby is salt weather are ruining Tank's career. Talking about Makubu is a nobody while Tank was facing Cruz, who people didn't know. I like Tank and Cruz and Makubu or someone. It's hold on.
I mean, personally, Makubu. The reason why that's different, bro. You can't compare Tank to Canelo, bro. That's the first thing.
Yo,
Makubu was a cherry pick. That was a cherry pick, bro.
Yo, that shit look like somebody's nephew fighting their grandpa and shit. Like
that was a cherry pick, bro. So the difference with Canelo literally found the weakest champion, and that's who he said he wanted to fight. Because he weren't going back down to 160. So the weakest champion available at 175 or heavyweight or cruiserweight, sorry, was Makubu. I wouldn't be surprised if he asked to fight Rivas for the Bridgerweight title.
Yeah, I actually want to ask this one last question before we get about this joint, man. The news came out, well, rumor. This is another L-Dub exclusive, but we might get a possible Jerron Boots Ennis versus Castillo Clayton and a title eliminator.
I don't want to see that.
Okay, elaborate, Shane.
Bro, if Boots ain't fighting for a world title, I want to see Boots fight a big name that's gonna at least give him some exposure.
No, this fight is gonna get him in a mandatory spot for the IBF. Yes.
Because he just beat Abdukokorov, right?
Yes. Yeah.
So okay. No, that's true. Then I'll take it. Even though I really wanted to see him fight the winner of Retire versus Stanionis. I won't lie to you.
Hey, yo, Jeff, what is the WBC doing? Because I found that matchup a little bit more interesting. David Avenesian versus Boots.
So, basically what happened is the announcement that that Virgil Ortiz gave, it threw Avenesian and them. It threw them off guard a little bit. They was expecting a much bigger name.
Michael McKinnon.
They was expecting a bigger name than McKinson. So they basically went into the mode of well, if he's fighting McKinson, we're not gonna put ourselves at risk against a Boots. So once that announcement was made, that kind of just went out that idea just went out the window. Like if it was a bigger name, that'd have been something different.
Well, the reason why, and I don't know if people know this, but the reason why McKinson even got that fight was because he had fought so many title eliminators for the WBO, so he just paid a lot of sanctioning fees. So it was always gonna happen. And McKinson, from what I know, it looks like it's a matchroom fight and not even. It's gonna be co-promoted with Golden Boy, but it's mainly matchroom, which I found surprising because I thought Virgil was Golden Boy's golden ticket. So,
but they tied in with the Zone though.
So no, but I don't think.
Yeah, it makes sense.
No, but I mean the main promotion of that fight is matchroom, which I was surprised.
But the thing, no, it makes sense because if you think about it, Golden Boy doesn't have a home. Like the Zone is their home.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where it makes sense. So it's like they gonna get the check cut either way. You know what I'm saying?
Definitely. But yeah. I just would have thought they would have wanted to be the ones kind of at the forefront of it.
But the forefront to go where though?
To foot the bill.
Yeah, they trying to avoid the bill. Like they trying to avoid the bill. Like for sure. Like, but no, that's the story behind that, bro. Like once they heard McKinson, they was just like, well, we're not gonna go to them and ask for Boots. Like that's just crazy.
That's good. You were the one that broke that story, so that's why I wanted to ask you.
Because
I was L Dub again.
Yeah, L Dub steered me in the right direction, and then I got some more info. So,
you spoke to I remember.
Yeah. So, that's what happened with that situation. But how many rounds Mr. Clayton is lasting against Boots, YSN?
I'm gonna give Castillo Clayton his respect and say 4.
All right, cool. Can I ask you a question, YSN? How does the fight between Butayev and Boots go?
That's a good fight.
I'm gonna give Butayev his respect and say 5.
5, bro. That is crazy. I'm not gonna lie. Part of me believes I think Butayev can take Boots the distance. Part of me believes that he could potentially take Boots the distance.
Listen, well, first I want to say, Jeff, I think we should go to Ortiz versus Albright in Orlando.
Is that in Orlando? Is that February? Is that February 18th?
Yeah, Paul Crawl versus Maurice Taylor. That's a good fight.
That's a good card. Actually, Shane, I gotta send you the poster for that. That's a really solid card.
Really is it audio? Is it audio?
No,
it's Kings Promotion.
Kings. Showbox.
Yeah,
but
Showbox.
As far as Butayev goes, Shane, you've never seen anything like this, Shane. Everybody at 47 is getting clipped.
No, I agree, but the only reason why I'm just saying, from what I've heard of Butayev, and I know Boots is built different. Butayev is very, 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 very strong. And I think he might be the only person who, in terms of just physical man strength, might have the equivalent of, because I personally think, based on what I've seen of Butayev, I think he's a little bit stronger than Spence.
Shane, he's getting clipped, bro. He's getting clipped,
and I could be wrong. But 5 is a little bit. Though. 5 is short, bro. 5 is real. How long did Lipinets last? Lipinets last is how long? Like 7 rounds?
5?
5 rounds.
5. He got 5 too. Boots has never been past 6.
I think he'll go past 6. I think he will take him the furthest. And I'm being honest. I think he'll take him the furthest.
Yo, he's
and I think he will take him the furthest purely and simply because I think Boots will have to worry about what's coming back as well.
The thing about that, I wish he would take him 12 because then I get to see what Boots going to do in the 9th, 10th, round. Like I would actually love to see that.
It's gonna be crazy. but I actually feel like, and this might sound so crazy, but in terms of bringing a brawl, I think Butayev probably is going to be Boots' hardest fight. I think technically it's going to be Crawford. If Crawford decides to box, it'll be Crawford. But in terms of just bang for bang, I think Butayev will be the hardest fight for Boots at 147. Harder than anyone else. Even harder than Virgil.
Spence.
You think Spence? Fair enough.
Bug is clipped early.
I think Spence as well, just because
he's better defensively than Butayev.
Yeah,
better defensively than Bug.
Yeah, no,
yeah.
Again,
they have different styles.
It depends on what Bud do. It depends on what Bud.
I think the reason why Spence is the toughest opponent is because when you're dealing with a guy's dynamic as Boots, you got to bring a jab to the table. Like Spence got one of the best jabs in the sport, and then all his shots is compact. All his shots is compact. So again, you facing a guy as dynamic as a Boots. You are only really hitting them with the compact shot, the bang shot.
But is that not the same as Butayev though? Butayev throws straight shots.
Yo, I
want to see that fight so much.
Damn, how many rounds would he last? Man, that's a good question.
That's a damn shame that we're actually asking that question instead of who's going to win the fight.
No, it's true because Boots is just a different level. He's just a different level. I actually think Butayev's a good fighter as well. I think he's a really good fighter. But
I think, how many rounds you say, YSM? Would you say 5?
I give Butayev 5 because initially I thought Delorme would last like 3. That was unfortunate.
Yeah.
Now I thought Delorme would last longer than 1. I didn't think you get knocked out in the first round.
Yo, I think Boots will probably have him in trouble within the first 4 rounds. I can see him in survival mode. I could see it going 6 or 7.
But it could be, and I'm gonna say this, it could be a potential banana skin because I will say this: Butayev will be the hardest hitter that Boots has ever been in the ring with, and if he makes the mistake that he done against Delorme, it's gonna be different. Like he's gonna have to be focused. Like sometimes YSM. Boots gets overconfident, like he gets too confident. He starts doing all of that stuff, and I like it. I love it. It's entertaining, but sometimes you just have to switch on and focus. This is going to be one of those fights.
No, you're 100% right. Sometimes his hubris gets a hold of him. He just starts going in and not care about what's coming back. I'm just with Butayev. What's coming back is very, very, very slow. Strong, but it's slow.
That's true. That's a fact. He's slow and he's not that good defensively.
Fellas, I gotta get out of here. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it. Love the show.
Hey, I got YSM. I gotta work tonight. But I don't know if you're gonna be up on the late night, but I gotta work like overnight, so we can actually chop it up about that Kings. Okay, because I didn't know it was in Orlando.
Yeah, it's in Orlando.
So yeah, and y'all mad about before you go, bro. I'm mad about the Charlo Castano thing too, bro.
Oh yeah, it's not in Houston. I'm sorry.
Yeah, man, that was going to mess up. We're going to find another reason to get him around the thick honeys.
I'm still going Houston. I just don't know why.
Yeah, we got to give him another reason to get around the thick honeys. But no, YSM, we'll chop it up, bro. Man, it's a pleasure as always. That's my bro right there, YSM Sports Media. Give me your social media real quick, man.
Oh, you can find me on Instagram, YSM_sports_media. YSM Sports Media on Facebook and media_YSM on Twitter.
And go follow his YouTube channel, YSM Sports Media. Go get with him. Get with him. Appreciate you, bro. Hey, Shane, this actual comment in here for you.
This comment, he wants me to address this one here.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Okay, Edwin, I always say to people, bro, please, when you're going to ask me to answer a question, or you're going to challenge me on something, don't make it about cruiserweight. So Makubu, a cherry, how is he the weakest when he's a champ, 2, 98% KO ratio, 3, if it was a fringe top 20, then maybe. The reason why it's a cherry pick is because he is the weakest champion at cruiserweight. That's the fact. he's just the weakest champion at cruiserweight. So that's how he's the weakest champion. He inherited the belt that he has right now. If you don't understand, I can't be bothered to go over it again. But actually study the history of the cruiserweight division. He inherited that title. That was an inherited title which he got handed to him, and that's why it's a cherry pick. He's the weakest opponent at cruiserweight. He didn't pick the best opponent at cruiserweight. He picked the weakest opponent at cruiserweight. So that's why it's a cherry pick. I don't know what else I could say. There was a Coley, Bradis, and what's it called? Makubu, who was available at that time. Glamerian wasn't available at that time. Those were the only people available. And out of those three, Makubu is the weakest. And that's it. Yeah, it's that simple. I don't know why we're going around in circles. He's the weakest champion at cruiserweight.
Let me reread this. It said Makubu or Cherry, how is he the weakest when he's a champ? It's 98% KO ratio. If it was a fringe top 20, then maybe. Okay, yeah. Everything Shane said is
You say he's got a 98% KO ratio. That's true, but he's also been knocked out before. He's also not the biggest cruiserweight, and plus, I'm not saying he's not a good fighter, because he's actually a good fighter. I've actually seen this dude fight numerous times. He's actually a good fighter. I'm just saying he's the weakest champion at cruiserweight. That's what I'm saying.
It's a cherry pick compared to the other options that's available
at cruiserweight. That's all I'm saying.
Get that last one.
Who is Canelo's biggest threat? He's not gonna campaign at cruiserweight. Plus, most guys that go up don't fight the straight killer in Crawford versus Horn. That's a fact. But in the difference with Crawford versus Horn was Crawford moved up and was an automatic mandatory for Horn. He wasn't an automatic mandatory for any other governing body. Mm-hmm. Now, let's keep it real. If Canelo moves up to cruiserweight, he'll become an automatic mandatory for Lawrence Okoli. Lawrence Okoli is a much harder fight than Makubu. Bradis is a much harder fight than Makubu. So you ask, who is the biggest threat? His biggest threat will be Okoli or Bradis, because those dudes are just so much bigger than him. I'm not saying I want to see him fight them, because that's a big.
Yeah, I don't even want to see that.
I don't want to see it. But I'm just saying, if you're gonna move to if you're gonna move to that weight class, I'm not saying that you have to fight the hardest, but I'm just saying it's a cherry pick. I'm not saying you're wrong for it. Just like Roy Jones moved up to heavyweight and fought John Ruiz. He wasn't the best, but I understand it. And I'm not saying you could be he's not wrong for taking the Makubu fight. I'm just saying he's the weakest opponent at cruiserweight. But yeah.
Hold on. He said, I agree, but calling him a cherry is kind of discrediting.
Calling him a duck will be a discredit, but he picked Makubu. That was a pick. It wasn't a mandatory. He picked Makubu, and he picked the weakest. So that's why I say it's a cherry pick.
Edwin, so is the reason I can vibe with Shane on this one is probably one of the more heated arguments we've had on camera is the whole Sean Porter gatekeeper thing. And I had to really sit back, and I never had this conversation with Shane afterwards, but essentially what Shane was saying was like basically he was a gatekeeper to the top 5. So when you look at it that way, then like, you know what I'm saying? Like, because you can legit ask yourself, can Sean Porter beat any of these 4 guys? And I would have said no to all 4. Which would have been, he'd have been a glorified gatekeeper for the top 4 guys. Mm-hmm. Where so sometimes the label fits the billing, and the cherry pick would fit the billing for Makubu. Because even Usyk was like he would go back down and go pay Canelo a visit, and he was like, nah.
And I'll keep it real. So, I'll keep it real, bro. If Usyk had done that, I would have criticized Usyk for that, because here you have an undisputed fight with Fury, and you've gone and fought a smaller dude. I would have criticized him for that, and I'm just keeping it all the way 100. And everybody knows I love Usyk, so
no, that's a fact. That's a fact. Like, you know, that's bullying in a sense.
Yeah.
Hold on. He said it's because he used his franchise status through the WBC, but yeah, I get what you say, but Guy is no cherry. Canelo was small to him. I no,
He's a
it's
midget to
compared.
him.
Listen, is he's a cherry compared to the
To
other
the other
opportunities.
available.
It's
Yeah.
not him. It's not him as a fighter. We're not
When you
disrespecting
look
him as
at,
a fighter.
he moved up to heavyweight, cruiserweight. He said he wants to move up to cruiserweight. At the available opponents at cruiserweight, that was a cherry pick. I'm not saying on the entire scale of everything, because
Yeah.
we've seen Canelo fight fighters before. I'm just saying when you look
It's
at cruiserweight specifically, that is a cherry pick. He picked the weakest opponent at cruiserweight.
yeah. Hold on. He said, man, Usyk is huge. Fury didn't dwarf him at all. Usyk is bigger than what people think. But the thing is, I'm like, technically, that was his third fight at heavyweight, so he could just be filling out. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? He could just be filling out.
That's
And the
why I
thing
feel
is,
like that second fight with AJ is just going to be even more one-sided. A lot of those advantages that people thought AJ had,
he's probably gonna start
he,
sitting down. He's probably gonna start sitting
yeah,
down on some of them shots.
like when it
Um,
goes to the second half of that fight, AJ is going to get real tired, and those shots, along with the movement, is going to make AJ. If he's looking to put on extra weight, as he said, to bully Usyk, you better make sure you knock him out in the first 4 rounds.
AJ got a 6 round gap.
Literally,
He got a 6 round gap to get it done. And I'm talking, and even if, I'm not saying he got to knock Usyk out. What I'm saying is he needs to make his point within
yeah.
the first 6 rounds. Really make his point within the first 6 rounds. Because if he doesn't, it's gonna get real ugly after 6. But yeah,
Yeah,
we gonna close this one out here, man.
yeah.
This was a good 2 hours. I wasn't expecting 2 hours out of this. We actually got into a lot of different things. They said it was an episode of Law and Order up in here today.
But you
You know what
just
I'm
remember
saying?
tomorrow we have the situation.
Yeah. So we got the situation tomorrow. So I just want to say this real quick. We have ginormous news coming within the
Yeah,
next week or so. It is very, very big news.
it's
It's
bigger
gonna
than the news that we like. It's
when
not even
we
just an isolated news.
listen.
We've got a chain of news coming. Like
Yeah,
maybe 3 or 4 news is coming.
yeah, when I kept on saying we had a surprise and we had the website and the
Fantasy.
fantasy league, like that
This
was
this this is basically the fantasy league, and the website was basically a stepping stone. So it was website, articles, fantasy league, Google News. Now it's time for the bigger step, then a bigger step. But what we will say is we're not going to announce everything, but we can announce that Ring Gods yeah.
yeah. So we're gonna do a series. It's called Ring Gods, where we're basically going to highlight, just basically the legends of the sport.
Don't even
Um,
have to be fighters. Could be
Yeah,
cool.
it could be coaches, whatever the case may be. So depending on who it is, might be a situation where we might just put together just a documentary type video for them, or depending on who it is, we might even get that person on the show.
Yeah.
But there's gonna be the Ring Gods series. Big shout out to Bruce Goals too. I seen on here he had Terrible Tim Witherspoon on his joint. Um Earlier tonight. So that was a big look. I'm
Oh
actually go back and check that
wow.
out. I'm gonna go back and check that out,
Wow.
man.
Wow.
That's
I'm gonna
one of
go
my
watch that.
favorite.
I'm gonna go watch that.
I'm a big fan. Now I don't know. It just said Terrible Tim Witherspoon. I'm assuming he was interviewing him, but yeah, that's a big look, man. Big shout out to Bruce Goals, man, for sure. Definitely doing big things. And listen, that's what I'm saying. Like I tell people all the time, I be like, yo, like when you tell somebody like you think they're good, they're gonna be good at doing a channel. Yeah, if they follow through with it, you're actually losing them as a viewer in a sense because they have to work on their own
Mhm.
movement. So it's good to see somebody like Bruce Gould actually go through the process of doing a channel and things like that. Man, he's one of the best, just like I said, just boxing minds and boxing voices that I've ever heard. Big shout out to Bruce Gould. We got one more comment. Bert Wood, he said G5, who am I? My record was wins 174, losses
19
119.
draws.
Oh no, hold on. Yeah, draws, 19 draws, amateur career with an 85-0 record with 69 knockouts, 41st round.
I have no idea. I have no idea. That has to be someone in the early, like in the early 1900s.
Yeah, Burtwood, you got me. Give it up.
Remember,
Give it up.
Burtwood's
He said
67.
he's 67. He's 67. Big shout out to Burtwood. Give it to us. Who?
You're old enough to be my grandfather.
Sugar
Sugar Ray Robinson. I was gonna
Ray
guess that.
Robinson.
I was gonna guess
Hey.
that. I was gonna guess that. If someone held a gun to my head and asked me to guess, I would have said Sugar Ray Robinson. The only reason why I didn't guess it because I didn't know he lost so much.
Yeah.
I didn't know he had lost so many fights. But I would have said Sugar Ray Robinson.
Yeah. Big shout out to Birdwood, man. Said Julio Cesar, I guess Chavez. Somebody singing. Yeah, but we're gonna leave it right there, man. Shane, give me your social media, bro.
I'm Shane the number one.
Hey man, I'm all over the place, man. Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, G5Jeff TV. Got the website, g5jefftv.com. Big shout out to BoxingFirst Vlog, aka the General, aka Blunt, aka Blunt B. Let's go follow his channel, follow his movement as well. But this was a good one, man. Big shout out to YSM for coming through. And this was episode 46 of the Goodfellas podcast. So on behalf of VP Shane, your boy G5 Jeff TV, we are out.